I think, unironically, the show deserved an Emmy for just a billion sorries. And I stand by that. Hello and welcome back to my channel. First things first, I have to say thank you to all 500 of you who watched one of my videos and decided you liked it enough to subscribe. I cannot believe how much this channel has grown over the course of just this one season of reacting to High School Musical, the series. I so appreciate the support, and I can't wait to keep watching TV with you all. All right, let's jump in. Okay, so the first thing we're gonna do today is go through my least favorite and favorite episode of the season. My least favorite was 108, the tech rehearsal episode. And if you've been watching along all season to see my reactions, you're probably not surprised. I think I rated that one the lowest. It was just missing the spark that the other episodes had. There was just an excitement and a glow that characterized the other episodes, but this one just didn't have it. It was dark. I don't know how to explain it any better than it was dark. Obviously, that episode was dark because of the conflict of losing access to the East High Theater. I get that. I don't want to take away from, obviously it's going to be not as fun, not as happy, but for all of that effort, I felt like the conflict was too quickly resolved. We come into the episode finding out they don't have access to the theater anymore, and we go all the way outside of East High to this theater, and then by the end of this 20-minute episode, we're already going back to the school. It just felt like we didn't have to do all that, you know? Like, it just wasn't a compelling enough conflict, and for it to be resolved so quickly was just kind of The actor chemistry was also just not hitting in the same way as previous episodes, which is usually not the case. This was one of the last episodes of the season, so you would expect the chemistry to be better by this point, but it just felt like, I don't know, like maybe they hadn't rehearsed this episode as much as others before filming, but it just didn't feel like it was ready. There were no musical standouts. I mean, Courtney's Bop to the Top, which is the only time we got to see her shine musically by herself in this season, but it was a cappella. It's a song that's famously over the top, and I kind of wish we got to see her be over the top with that song. I know it was going to be Seb's song eventually, but we don't even really hear him sing it for very long, so I don't know. It just didn't stand out for me. Also, obvious, probably should have led with this, no Gina. How could I rank it high with no Gina? She's the best character in the show. I mentioned this during my reaction for that particular episode, that maybe the reason it felt dark and off was because Ricky's the main character of the show, and his new friend was essentially ghosting him. So maybe if we're seeing Salt Lake City and we're seeing East High and we're seeing this drama club through Ricky's eyes, maybe it was a stylistic choice for us to also kind of feel like this episode was dreary because Gina's not there. And if that was the case, I will give the writers their flowers because I felt it. Not my favorite episode, but I will give them their flowers if that was intentional. I don't think it was intentional, but it could be. It could have been. And then it probably will come as no surprise to any of you what my favorite episode of the season was. 106, What Team? The episode when they had to save their drama teacher from losing her job, so they came up with a whole song and dance, and everything good about this show was found in this episode. I think that's why it was my favorite. The music was so fun and lively. All the kids were just so excited to be there. I don't know if that's like the right way to explain it. It just felt so high school theater drama geek in the most positive way, not derogatory at all. They were there and they were having fun making music, acting, and the chemistry across different dynamics in this episode was just so good, so great. I just found out on Twitter actually this week that episode was reshot later because it was originally supposed to be very different. What I want to point out is In this episode, I mentioned that Ricky's dad, Mike, and Miss Jenn, their conversation just seemed like more had happened between them than what we had seen in the previous episode.
Thank you for everything.
You too.
Just wish I would have known earlier. At the bowling alley?
I'm a little bit glad we didn't.
Did something more happen between them at the bowling alley? Did I miss that?
And according to this update from Larry, the actor who plays Big Red, he was just interviewed this past week. He said that originally Mike and Jenn, I don't know if they said they spent the night together, but Miss Jenn didn't leave with the girls. The girls left without her. She stayed back at the bowling alley. So then in 106, it just felt so suggestive and I was really confused, but now it makes sense. It was filmed to respond to a different scene than what we had seen. So I don't know, I think that's funny, but also like, I'm so smart. I'm so smart. What was also really fun about this episode was we were now more than halfway through. The characters, who they were as people and who they were in the context of this drama club were starting to cement themselves. So we got such interesting dynamics that were emerging. The love, I was gonna call it a triangle, but at that point it was like a polygon, it was a rectangle. The love rectangle really, really showed itself in this episode, I'd say, more than any other. And I kind of wish that we had stayed in that place a little bit longer, just because love triangles are so popular and so used in teen dramas. But a successful love rectangle? I don't know, we haven't had one of those in a minute. I feel like that was like really popular early teen TV, like One Tree Hill, Gossip Girl era. But at this point, I don't know, it would have been a nice break than the usual triangle that we get in every other show right now. So I wish they had stayed there. I think it would have also led to more interesting dynamics between the core four. But it was almost like the writers or showrunner, whoever, were worried about making the core four too separate from the rest of the characters. I feel like it would have been stronger if they had. It's a formula that works. It works in a lot of shows. This is a really big ensemble cast. I understand that. I respect that. But even High School Musical had 6 main characters, and even of the 6, we have a clear pair in the center of every poster. Like, as an audience, you always kind of need to be told who to pay attention to, who's most important. And I feel like the show was sometimes too scared to let Ricky, Nene, EJ, and Gina be the main characters that they are. They're the main characters, point blank period. And this episode, more than others, let us see the 4 of them as a collective as the main characters. Also, I love found family trope, and this was like where it really, really hit that these kids are no longer strangers. They really care about each other, and they care about what they're building together, and they care about the person who brought them together, Miss Jenn. So they're going to put everything on the line to save her job. And while I think the reasoning was a little ridiculous for her losing her job or almost losing her job, it still led to the spin hug. And that's all I care. That's all I care about. That's all I care. I can look the other way because I won. Okay, next I'm going to say my favorite original and High School Musical covers with my least favorite original and High School Musical covers. So my least favorite cover was What I've Been Looking For. Okay, so that one wasn't bad vocally. EJ and Nene, they could both sing, but I love the original. I feel like that is one of the most underrated songs from the HSMCU, and for the talent that's in this cast, I just wish we got a sincere cover of that song. I thought it was hilarious what they did with it. Nene and EJ are on the rocks. They're about to break up. They're not doing well, and that was funny. I liked it. But I feel like, okay,
Walk with me.
the reason EJ was singing it was he was being the understudy and stepping in for Ricky. So I don't know, like, couldn't there have been a situation where Gina, the understudy for Nini, could have stepped in and we could have had the sincere cover, like in the movie you have the Sharpay and Ryan one, which is like missing the emotional heart of the song, and then Troy and Gabriella sing it and it's like, oh, that's what it was supposed to sound like that, but with Ricky and Gina. I'm not crazy. I'm not crazy. I feel like that would have been whatever. Okay, and then my least favorite original song. I'm so sorry. Roll of a Lifetime. I'm so sorry. That one was a chop. The only good thing about that song was the Lucas Grabeel cameo. Like, I love that he came on and he sang a song in a dream sequence. Like, love that. The song itself was just... So you may be wondering why I didn't say A Billion Sorries.
I don't know, because I have taste.
So A Billion Sorries, that song was written perfectly. It was perfect, like from top to bottom perfect. The beat being not good, perfect. The writing being horrendous, perfect. The singing being questionable, perfect. The song was perfect. And here's why. EJ can't write. He's a jock who has had his entire life scripted for him. Obviously, he's well, I think he's well off. No one who plays water polo unironically is poor. So he's well off. Theater kid who goes to sleepaway camp for musicals. He's just so interesting. But why would he be able to write a good, compelling song? He wouldn't. It's so believable that this is the kind of garbage he would come up with. And because it's so believable, it actually comes out sincere to me. I feel like, if I'm remembering correctly, Ashlyn did not agree with me, and that's okay. But that's because she's Sarah Bareilles Jr. Like, of course she was going to be disappointed with what EJ came up with. Not me. I think, unironically, the show deserved an Emmy for just A Billion Sorries. And I stand by that. Okay, so then my favorite High School Musical cover, not gonna come as a surprise to anyone, obviously. When There Was Me and You, Ricky's version. Yeah. I don't even know that I have to say. I'm gonna talk about it, but I don't really have to. I feel like you guys should know. Excellent chemistry. Vocals, incredible. The acoustic choice over production, which is something that Disney does a lot. But I'm glad they didn't this time. It was just so good. And then in the context of when he was singing this song, serenading, just changed the meaning of the song entirely for me. And it was one of my favorite songs since I was 5. So the fact that they were able to do it justice, change it in a way that still was paying actual homage to the original, but also making it their own. That one has been added to the playlist. That one has been added actually to multiple playlists. He did what he had to do. Overall, music video, audio alone. If I could inject that into my veins, I would. And then my favorite original song also shouldn't come as a surprise to anyone who's been watching the season with me. Wondering was so... I remember the first time I heard that song, I had to sit up in my seat. I had to sit up because we're not on Disney Channel anymore. This is a whole other thing. I think after I did the reaction, I looked it up to see if it was one of the songs that Olivia wrote for the show, because it was just that good to me. Beautiful. Also added to several playlists. We'll be listening to that one for years to come. Yeah. Okay, next we're doing characters. One note, this is kind of lazy writing. Of the like 8 to 10, I don't know, I don't remember how many kids we've met, but a decent number of kids in Salt Lake City. You're telling me in Utah, capital of Mormonism, that everybody's an only child. No one has one singular sibling. In Salt Lake City, Utah, not one. I really like that. Like, Ashlyn and EJ are cousins. That's the closest they could get, but they didn't want to add any family sibling dynamics to, I don't know.
Boring, yawning, sloppy, lazy.
Also, Courtney was only supposed to be in the pilot. How does that make any sense? How does that make any You wanted you wanted the main female character of the show to have a best friend, a black best friend, and we'll get to that. Trust, we will be getting to that. Who's only there for the first episode, and then what her entire storyline would have been wrapped up in her love interest. But honestly, you can kind of see that because in pretty much all of her episodes, she was just Nini's best friend, just supporting Nini, just being there for Nini. And that was a little exhausting. I'm hoping that that's not the case with season 2. Maybe if Nini does end up going to this acting school, which we will also talk about, I'm hoping that Courtney actually gets real storylines outside of her best friend, because if she doesn't, I don't know how I get to season 3 personally. Okay, I am going to do character rankings in order from least to favorite. And I'm not gonna give any context or any explanation. I'm just going to be right, and you're just going to have to accept that. If you feel very strongly about one of my rankings, then we can duke it out in the comments. But if you've been watching my channel for this whole season, and if you've been paying attention to this video, I don't think many of them will come to you as a surprise. Some of them might be a little lower than you're expecting, but there are some characters who just drive me insane, and I've tried to be nice and kind of cut out when I'm like saying unnecessarily negative things in my videos, and maybe I shouldn't do that. Maybe I should give you the whole unfiltered me while I'm watching, but you're gonna see. We're just gonna go in reverse order, and you're gonna see my least favorite to favorite characters, okay? Lynn needs no explanation, obviously. She's my least favorite. Next, Big Red. Sorry. Next, Gina's mom. I said I wasn't gonna explain, but you know, of course I was gonna explain. Gina's mom is only a couple steps above Ricky's mom because she's around. Like, she is actually trying to be around. Instead of abandoning her child, she just drags her everywhere. So I got something for her too, but it's not as strong as Lynn. It's not as strong as Lynn. Yeah. Mr. Mazzara, he just has such a stank attitude. Like, I think he's funny. I laugh at a lot of his lines. I think the actor has great comedic timing. But he's just so like, what? Who peed in your cereal, bro? Like, why are you so pressed over this woman? Is it because you like her? Like, be normal. Be normal. Be normal. Carlos. We're getting to the characters I don't dislike. I just don't love. He just annoying to me. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. The only times I really liked him, I can't lie, are his scenes with EJ. Their dynamic is just so fun to me, so funny, and I really hope that they develop that pairing more. Y'all know I'm team, what I call them, CJ. I'm team CJ. But I don't know. He just irks me. Whatever. Miss Jenn.
Just be nice. I'm finding it. It take you that long to find it? It does.
She feels like a character from a Disney Channel sitcom, derogatory. Yeah, I'm not gonna elaborate. I'm gonna leave it there. Lucas. Yeah, I'm even mentioning him. Yeah, I liked him. Once again, didn't like the song, but I liked him. I thought he was very funny in Miss Jen's dream sequence. I liked him. Natalie, also funny. I hope that they use her more in season 2 because I think she has great comedic timing as well. And I don't know, she might have an interesting dynamic with another character if we ever saw her talk to more than one character. Like, she's really just not doing enough. And I don't know, I just think that she's underused. Seb. I think Seb is sweet. Why am I explaining? Whatever. Nene. Yeah. Mike. Yeah, I'm gonna explain that one because he's higher than the other parents. He's going through a divorce that we find out about in the season. It's not even something that happens before. It's something we're finding out with Ricky. And so we're seeing him going through mild depression. And yeah, it was one of those storylines that really separated this show from previous Disney shows for me. And I liked that. I actually honestly think there could have been a little bit more there. But honestly, I think he did get a fair share of screen time for a parent, not even one of the kids. But I just liked seeing that representation. And I also really like his dynamic with Ricky. Obviously it's not perfect, but just like what I was saying with Gina's mom, not perfect, but wants to be there. And you can see that throughout the season. He wants to be there for his kid. I think that's really important and special. So I liked Mike. I did. Dating your kid's teacher though. Yeah, I'm hoping they cut, like, I'm hoping we cut that out. It already feels like they're building towards a longer slow burn between Miss Jenn and Mazzara. So I don't think I have to worry about that too much. But like, Mike should just date somebody else or better focus on himself. I don't even think the ink on the divorce papers has dried yet. So I don't know why they're both like fiending to date somebody else, but that's their business. That's not mine. Ashlyn, cutie pie, and such a great talent. Yeah. Courtney would be higher to me if she were written better. So I'm hoping in subsequent character rankings, she will be in my big 3, because right now, just as this one-dimensional black best friend who's sassy and opinionated and always ready to support her best friend and kind of getting the short end of the stick in that friendship a lot of the time. I don't want that for her. I will give credit where credit is due. I think that there was more intention placed on making their friendship more equal by the end. Like, even in the last episode, it actually felt like Nene was invested in Courtney's success more so than in the first few episodes, where Courtney would literally be actively complaining. This happened on 2 occasions that I can think of. Courtney was actively complaining about something that's going on in her life. The first time was at that coffee shop, and then the second time was when they were bowling. In both of those scenes, she's telling her friend about how she's been made to feel, and her friend just changes the topic, like makes it about herself and about EJ. That just rubbed me so the wrong way about Nene's character. But then by the end, we got to this point where Nene's really excited about Courtney finding her voice publicly, and she even says something about Courtney having the best voice at East High or in Salt Lake or something like that, which I thought was so sweet. And I like that growth, and I'm not even putting that growth on the characters. Honestly, that felt like growth in the writer's room was necessary. So I'm hoping that that is how we will be moving into season 2. I really am. My big 3, genuinely no shockers. EJ, Ricky, and then Gina. Friendships. So I kind of already started touching on how I felt about certain friendships, but I do want to get into them more, specifically Ashlyn and Gina, Ricky and Big Red. And yeah, I feel like if I kept going with Nene and Courtney, I'd probably be beating a dead horse. I was trying to save that for this section, but it kind of came out earlier, so whatever. First, I want to say, I don't think the writers are doing a good enough job with developing friendships yet. This is a multi-season show. I feel confident that it will get better, but as of right now, we're getting a lot of friendship dynamics that don't feel earned. And what's annoying about that is both theater, high school theater clubs, drama clubs, and teen dramas have friendships as the backbone. It's the foundation of all of the other dynamics that come out of teen dramas and high school drama clubs. Probably not a coincidence now that I'm saying that out loud, but that's how you end up with these like incestuous relationships where like people have been friends with each other for so long and dated each other for so long that it's kind of like this weird group dynamic. But that is so characteristic of these two groups that it feels like this show that is both a teen drama or a teen dramedy about a high school drama club. Like, I just don't really get how the writers dropped the ball there. Two examples of this. Ashlyn and Gina. I brought this up during the last video. Are they friends? I was so caught off guard when Ashlyn, like, that was so sweet of her. So sweet of her to invite Gina to stay the night. And the night was like, okay, like that, yeah, I mean, she has a flight, so I don't know why she would just stay a night, whatever, but okay. And then she said through Christmas, and I was like, okay, that's nice. And then the which kind of sounds like the rest of the school year, also super nice. Love that gives us a foreshadow to how Gina's story is going to shift in season 2, but it just didn't feel earned. Please remind me if I'm missing something, but I don't remember seeing Gina really connect with any character other than Ricky, Nene, and EJ. Core 4. That makes sense. Obviously, she's not going to move in with Ricky or EJ, and even her friendship with Nene wouldn't feel earned to me either because they're growing towards it. But there's also this huge bomb that could go off at any second in their growing friendship, which is the unspoken Ricky of it all. So obviously she couldn't have moved in with any of them, and I feel like the writers were maybe trying to like throw her in somewhere, but I don't know. I just think more should have been done to build up to that friendship between Gina and Ashlyn. If anything, I thought Ashlyn and Courtney got closer, visibly closer over the course of the season. So that's something they could have done. It's just something that they could have put into the writing. Also, I don't know what season 2 will bring, but I can't lie, it could have been interesting, honestly maybe more interesting, to see how dynamics would have had to shift if Courtney and Gina had become closer friends, especially with this whole yak situation going on and the fact that Gina wants to stay in Salt Lake City and Nene wants to leave, and how that could impact Courtney in different ways, that this new friend wants to stay and this old friend, my best friend, didn't even think of leaving me for senior year. That would have, to me, been really interesting and compelling to see unfold in future seasons, but no one hired me in the writer's room, so. I also feel kind of similarly about Ricky and Big Red. Obviously, they actually had scenes together. They actually showed us their dynamic. My issue with that friendship was they were not convincing to me as friends. They really didn't have platonic chemistry. It just felt mismatched. And I know chemistry reads are a very common thing for romantic pairings, but I think chemistry readings in general are really important and useful between characters who are supposed to be best friends, because I just didn't buy it For most of the season, I just, like, their lines were saying they cared about each other. Their scenes were saying they cared about each other, but the actors could not. Couldn't fool me. Couldn't fool me. Okay, while I don't think they spent enough time developing friendships, boy, did they spend a lot of time developing ships. And maybe that's the wrong word. Not developing, presenting ships. Okay, so Mike and Miss Jenn, let's start there. I've kind of said everything I really need to say there. I think that Mike needs to focus on recovering, healing. I love that he's found someone who makes him feel better in this period of time where he is feeling so down. But did she have to be his kid's teacher? I just hope it doesn't continue. I hope that they can be amicable about it, and maybe that can raise tension somewhere in Ricky's life in season 2. That's fine, but I feel like full sending this romantic relationship is just kind of... And then we can talk about Miss Jenn's other ship with Mazzara. I said this already. He has such a stinky attitude. He's just so hilarious. Hilarious, don't get me wrong. But so... like... Be normal, be nice, be regular. Like, he's always doing way too much, and clearly there's something more going on there. It's not just jealousy about the robotics club or whatever he claimed. And maybe that's how he acts. Like, he can't be normal around women he's attracted to. Maybe that's what it is. But I hope he can be more normal in the future, because clearly that is the slow burn that's being built up. I hope that they can develop some kind of actual friendship with a good foundation first. But yeah, that's really all I have to say. I'm not gonna lie, I'm not paying that much attention to that shit. Big Red and Ashlyn. I think they're adorable. I feel like it's clear that I like Ashlyn as a character a lot more than I like Big Red as a character. They're cute. I don't really care about them, and I think that might be because there's no conflict there, but that's okay. Like, that's healthy. I'm glad there's at least one relationship in this entire show that isn't mess. Like, they're so uncomplicated. It's just, I like you, you like me, we both have red hair, let's do this. And I don't know, I think that's beautiful. Other relationship that kind of just like got together and doesn't have too much conflict, Seb and Carlos. Unfortunately, I'm just so bored. They do absolutely nothing for me. I'm so sorry. I feel like they have very devoted fans, so I'm so sorry if I'm offending anybody. If you don't care for Rena, but they're the couple you like, more power to you. Your taste I might call into question. But they just don't have any sparks to me. And I believe they're together in real life. So honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if they have a ton of chemistry in real life and then just on camera. It's like this really common thing. Like, this is not the only show where this happens, but it just happened to happen twice. Here's my theory. When actors are with the person they're also romantically linked to on a show or in a movie, I think the acting line gets blurry, it gets complicated. So like, if my co-star is someone I have no feelings for other than platonic, we are very comfortable with the fact that we're not interested in each other, I think it can be a lot easier maybe to just do everything, like dial up the chemistry, dial up the sparks, dial up the energy, because I know and they know this is just acting. Whereas when you're especially a teenager and you have a crush maybe on someone, it can be hard to like act like you are also in a relationship with that person, or that your character has a crush on that person. Like, I feel like sometimes we forget that actors are real people pretending to be a fictional person, but the real person is always going to be underneath that character and is always going to be bringing their own biases and their own limitations to any role. That's my theory. That's my 2 cents. I've never heard that theory before. I don't know if that's like commonly, or if there's another argument for it, but I just, that's what I think would happen. So I don't really fault them. I also don't think the writers give them much. I think their scenes are cute. Like the homecoming episode was very cute for them, but I just not that invested personally. I liked them at first. I thought that EJ was doing a lot for Nini in terms of her progress, her confidence, her courage. Like I don't think she could have landed Gabriella. Is that a hot take? That's not to say I don't think she had the talent. I think she had the talent. I don't think she had the confidence to get that part. And I think that was something Gina caught on to right away in episode 1 and thought, this part is mine, and got cocky because Nini wasn't sure of herself. But EJ was so sure of her. And I really love that about their dynamic. I think that was exciting for her to be with someone who was so certain when it felt like Ricky wasn't always certain about the things that he wanted and the things that he needed. EJ was sure. Like I mentioned earlier, his life is scripted for him. Everything is known. Nothing is confusing or questionable. He's gonna get the lead. He always gets the lead. He's gonna be the captain. He's always the captain. He's a senior. He knows everything about everything. And for Nini, not knowing and not feeling sure of herself or sure of who she could be, it was really exciting for her to be with someone who knew. So that to me was what I liked about their dynamic. Overall, obviously they had to break up. Could I see something happening in the future? Honestly, before the final episode, I would have said no, but I think EJ had grown a lot as a result of that breakup, and I don't think that's a pairing that should be written off yet, because I think it would be interesting to maybe revisit in season 2 when they've changed more. Nini is more sure of herself now than she was in episode 1, and I'd imagine in season 2 she'll be even more sure of herself. And what does that dynamic look like when his biggest purpose in her life was helping her get there? Is that something that he's proud of, or is that something that makes them clash later because now he's not really of use to her? Not that you should be of, but I think you get what I mean. That's a pairing that I don't think should be written off yet. I think it would be really interesting for both of their character development to see how they interact with each other in the future. Nini and Ricky. Yuck. I'm so sorry. I can't like them. I really tried. Even the first few episodes, there were scenes that I was like, oh, yeah, okay. But once Gina was introduced, it just, you know what? I'm gonna leave Gina out of it for a second. I'm gonna focus on just Ricky and Nini and why they don't work. Like I said, the reason why EJ and Nini were so good together was because EJ was so sure and he had everything laid out for him. Everything made sense in his life. He knew exactly what he needed to do, where he needed to be to get to where he wanted to go. Ricky doesn't. The Ricky we meet in episode 1, his biggest aspiration is beating a level in a video game. And that isn't to say he's a teenage boy. I'm not expecting him to want to run for president, but he just couldn't give Nini what she needed at the time. And I honestly don't think he could by the end of the season either. I think it was important development for him to get to the point of being able to say, I love you to Nini after the whole season of not being able to get his words out because, like he said, it was a word that his parents weren't using. But that's not what Nini needed, and that's okay. The person you date when you're 14 does not need to be the person you date when you're 17. The person you were friends with when you were 5 doesn't need to be the person you date when you're 17. It really doesn't, because You're not the person you were when you were 5 or 14, and neither are they. So it just kind of felt like they were growing in opposite directions. And then when Ricky saw his mom with her new boyfriend, it was like, wait, I can't let this happen. I can't let my life or everything I thought I understood about life slip away. Everything I thought I knew about romantic relationships slip away. I need to grab onto this one thing I can before it's too late. And the love confession is desperate because of that. He knows she might walk out of his life. She's literally walking out of the dressing room, but it feels like the show is over. She's walking out of my life. I didn't get her back. And in an effort to fix that, he yells, "I love you." And then the rest comes after. But the "I love you" is first. The "I love you" is the grabber before she disappears. And of course she turned around. Of course she came back because she didn't stop loving him. And I never doubted that I think she loves him. Do I think she's in love with him? At this point, I don't. I'm not gonna say she wasn't at the beginning, but I do think by the time she had dated EJ, there was an emotional separation there, and she had already grown beyond the Nini who wrote I Think I Kinda You Know by like episode 4. They had their summer apart. She had grown past that version of herself, and she knew it. She called herself Nini 2.0, I think. She was aware of that. What I think happened was she saw that Ricky was okay when he started getting close to Gina, and she didn't want to lose him to Gina. So the love confession, all the like getting close again at the end of the show was more about Gina than I think either of them realized. And I hope that is something that they can acknowledge by season 2, even if it's not something that means anyone changes the relationships they're in. Obviously now they're back together, so we're gonna go into season 2 probably with them together. EJ and Gina. Okay, they started with their little fake dating plot that was too short-lived. Once again, just so many fun dynamics and tropes that were like picked up and discarded so fast. I feel like that could have been a good 2 to 3 episode arc, but what do I know? Whatever. Their like half episode fake date where all they did was go to homecoming together and Gina didn't even have a plan, whatever. I thought they were funny. I thought they were very funny together. The understudy wonder study plot was funny. Like I like their dynamic. I like the scheming. I honestly think the scheming ended a little too early. I've said that before. I wish that we got to see more of them because I think that they're more alike than we get to see them be. They're both so driven and obsessed with being perfect and being the best possible performer and so confident in themselves that I just think they would have been very fun to keep watching. So I don't know if that's something we'll see in season 2, but it doesn't look like it because in the last episode we get this glimpse of something romantic between them. I wouldn't even call it romantic between them as much as Gina sees him in a new light after he gets the flight for her. And honestly, I saw him in a new light too. Like I understand that would totally okay, this 15-year-old girl has been slung around the US by her mother her entire life, and her desires are put last. That just consistently put last. The only place where she feels like she can be number one, because she's not number one at her house, she's last, is on stage. So she works herself like crazy to be number one on stage. And then she comes to this school, and this girl who doesn't put in the effort she has, who doesn't have the acting talent that she has, the dancing talent that she has, just gets the part that she believes should have been hers. Like that is jarring. That I can understand why that would throw someone off their game. And for EJ, after everything they had gone through together that whole season, she literally dropped punch on his head a few episodes earlier. For EJ to put his pride aside and do something for her, not because of her talent, but because of how important he saw she was to the cast, to the family, he went and bought her a plane ticket and then didn't tell anybody. Was just, I personally would have folded too. That's all I'm gonna say. I would have folded too. So I can be upset. I can be frustrated, but I can't be mad at her for that. If they do end up going that way, which it feels like they will, my sincere hope is they're not going to do it and discard the dynamics that have been built so far. That's all. Ricky and Jenna.
I get so giggly about them. Okay.
Ricky has been going through all of these changes in his life. He feels abandoned by his mother and has every right to. He feels like he's kind of like half parenting his father. His girlfriend in his mind has abandoned him because he couldn't tell her he loved her when she told him. And then this girl comes along and she's misunderstood by everyone except for him. To everyone, including their teacher, she is rough. Like, she's just not pleasant to be around. And to him, he kind of sees right through that very quickly. You're not that scary. Even though I think he's still a little intimidated. And that's exactly how I like my ships. He just sees her. And the second he sees her, she just completely lets her guard down. Like it's like she was almost waiting, like begging for somebody to notice her and to realize she's not the girl she keeps presenting herself as, because literally a second after homecoming, she comes back and she's giggling with everybody. She's making new friends. Like, she has completely opened up. Her clothes become brighter and more colorful. She's just more happy to be there. And all it took was a ride home and a kiss on the cheek. And you want me to not be invested in this Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? She's always been put last, and he has a new song and he wants to show her. They talk on the phone. Did you hear that when he said they talk on the phone? In my mind every night. I don't remember what he said, but in my mind every single night. Like, and you want me to not, okay, like, and then it's a slow burn, which is so rare in the streaming era. Like, I'm just so excited for where that plot line goes. It sucks that this last episode is reintroducing 2 new pairings for them, but honestly, it's better that way. I wanted it that way because I don't like fast burns, and both of those were fast. I like the long game. I'm gonna wait it out. I'm okay with that. For them, as long as it happens though. For them, it'll be worth it because their chemistry is just ridiculous. Like, the second they get on screen, nothing else matters. My brain just... So I can't wait to see what happens with season 2. Do I want Ricky to cheat? No. No. Does emotional cheating trope eat anyway? I can't make it not eat. But I do not want anything physical to happen with them whatsoever. I really do. I want them both single first. I'm setting the record straight. I'm putting Rena cheaters, emotional cheaters, physical cheaters. Yeah. The last thing I want to say about ships, the love triangles, the writers need to put down the love triangles, love rectangles, love whatever. It's just tired, overused, lazy. It's lazy writing. It's one thing to have one love triangle, but multiple in one season. Whatever. I just hope that they don't lean on that so much in following seasons, because it's just not as strong. Like, that doesn't need to be the only way to get romantic conflict in a show. There are so many other more creative ways for us to see the dynamics between these characters. than triangles. Boring, sloppy, lazy. For this season, I give it 8 popcorns out of 10 popcorns. Okay, so the point deductions, it's pretty simple to me. This show hasn't figured out who it's writing for. Is it writing for Zillennials who grew up on the original High School Musical movies and love it so much that they tune back into the show? Or are they writing to kids who are younger than these characters, were not born when High School Musical and High School Musical 2 and maybe even 3 came out? Because it just feels like they're not sure. So they're kind of straddling the line by getting like some more mature themes, some more mature storylines than what Disney Channel would give, but then with jokes and lines and dumbing down to the point of it coming off as childish, and it's kind of off-putting. I just feel like the show would be so much stronger if they decided our target is this group and we're gonna write to this group, and anyone else who chooses to watch it will just enjoy it for what it is. Like, there are so many adults who watch Bluey, which is a kids show. It's not trying to be anything but a kids show. Yes, sure, it has, I've never seen it. There's subplot of a character who had trouble getting pregnant, so that they don't use that language, but an adult who's watching it with their young child is going to pick up on what's going on. That's cool, that's fine. The adult feels like there's something in here for me, but they're not deluded to the point of feeling like this show is written for me. Bluey's not written for you, you're 30. Bluey is written for your 3-year-old, and that is okay. I just think that this show's not sure if they're writing for 13-year-olds or 23-year-olds. And I think if they can figure that out for the next season and following seasons, the show will be much better for it. And people will still tune in. It's High School Musical. If you start writing to the younger audience, the older audience who's still nostalgic about Disney and High School Musical in their childhoods, they're still gonna watch it because it's good. That's my off my soapbox now. Finally, what is next? Season 2 predictions. I've already kind of mentioned this, but Gina and EJ, it was very clearly they're definitely gonna go there, and I'm not excited for it, but I think it will be nice, hopefully, for Gina to be prioritized, because that's not how she's feeling at home, and that is something she deserves. So I'm not going to fight it. Do I want that to be endgame? No. But I think that could be a healthy, like, mid-game plot device shit. Yak, Nini's not gonna, she's not gonna cut it at Yak. Okay, several reasons. I think episode 1 or even episode 2, Nini maybe would excel at Yak, but this version of her cannot. And it's really simple why. She's grown so confident, but in that confidence she's also grown defiant. She doesn't really want to accept things the way they are. She wants to do things her way, and there's nothing wrong with that. I think that's great and shows how much her character has progressed over time. But East High is not going to be like this school. This school is a private performing arts school. It's not going to be somewhere where you can just say, I don't feel like that. Maybe they will make it that way, but this feels like another private school trope, which is another teen drama trope I've seen many times before. And a lot of times the character cannot adjust to not being the main character. She cannot adjust to following directions, following stricter rules than she was getting in public school. Also, why they didn't make it a music conservatory as opposed to acting is so totally beyond me. It feels like a lot of decisions in this show were created, made, changed on the fly as a result of a very dynamic writer's room, which is great, but I don't understand why this was not one of the decisions that was shifted. Why couldn't they change it to a music school? Maybe it was because she's not going to do well there, and they thought it'd be more realistic to make that an acting school. But if I'm right and it has more to do with her character and her personality, then this could have played out the same way at a music school. She could have gone there and still felt like her creativity wasn't being rewarded the way that it is at East High as of right now. Like, Miss Jenn is the kind of teacher who gender bends a character and adds original music to a very well-known musical. She's not the kind of teacher who says no. And so if Nini has grown a lot of her confidence being trained and praised by that kind of teacher, then if she runs into any teacher who isn't like that at her school, it's going to be hard, regardless of if it was an acting school or a music school. So I just think that was kind of an oversight. Like, especially because she was not acting well in the play. There were a lot of things going on, yes, but anyone who's ever acted ever knows that you're not supposed to let any of that affect you on stage. And it was just a dumpster fire of her and others, but especially her, not acting well. So for her to get this school dean so impressed with her that they're gonna let her in early was just kind of like. But anyway, that leads us to my final prediction for season 2, casting for High School Musical 2. I think that Nini will not be back. I think she will be at her school. I'm not gonna lie, I'll be kind of annoyed if we spent the last few episodes learning about this school and then she just comes back to school in season 2 like nothing happened, or like it just gets dropped. That would be annoying. So I feel like she should go. She's gonna learn a lot about herself. She's gonna be apart from Ricky. So that's my prediction. I think she will be gone. I hope so. And that has nothing to do with how I feel about her. That has more to do with how I feel about the writing of the show and sticking plot lines through instead of just picking them up and dropping them in the next episode. So my predictions for High School Musical 2 castings are Ashlyn as Taylor, Ricky as Chad, I know, Seb as Ryan, Courtney as Sharpay, Gina as Gabriella, and EJ as Troy. And I have a lot of reasons for why I think that's the direction I would go in. We're building this Gina EJ storyline. I think it would make sense for them to play the leading roles that they lost out on in season 1. I think Ricky's not going to be, like, his heart won't be in it as much. He's not really going to care for not having Troy if Nini's not playing Gabriella. Because I don't think he was even originally, he wasn't even trying to get Troy. He was just trying to be in the play. So I don't think he's going to care so much about the lead, like not as much as EJ. And I think now that EJ and Gina have more of a friendship than they did the first audition cycle, obviously, because they didn't know each other yet, I think that they might try to get the parts together. So that's my prediction there. I hope that Miss Jenn said, come talk to me in the spring to Courtney after she finished playing Taylor. So I feel like she would make a great Sharpay, and I would love to hear her sing Fabulous. So that's my guess. Sebastian for Ryan would be so fun. Like, seeing him do I Don't Dance with Ricky would be so fun. I just realized that would be so good. That's I love that song. High School Musical 2 is so fun. It has such good songs. And then Taylor, played by Ashlyn. I think Ashlyn proved herself with Miss Darbus and should get bumped up to one of the big 6. So those are my casting predictions. Once again, as always, no spoilers, please. I can't believe we're done with season 1. If you stayed with me for this long video, thank you so much. I was yapping, but that's because this show is just so fun to me, and there's so many layers and so many things that I find so interesting about the dynamics that were presented. I love the music, the choreography, and I loved High School Musical growing up, so I'm really happy that I love this show too. Once again, I can't believe I started this channel in November of last year, 0 subscribers. This High School Musical episode 1 was the first video, and now we're doing the season recap, and I have 500 subscribers. Like, where did you guys come from? And it's just, I am just so grateful for all of you. So thank you. Thank you so much for supporting. Thank you so much. Please keep liking, commenting, subscribing. I love your comments. I love going back and forth with you guys about everything about this show and about other stuff. And I can't wait to get into season 2 with you all very, very soon.